From Chesapeake, Virginia, WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
And thank you very much, Joe Daniel, on this beautiful Wednesday, day after a pretty big storm here in Hampton Roads on this August 30th right here. This is Sports Scene, an interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also invite you to watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com, celebrating 25 plus years of interviews. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com, Twitter at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at gjbtv, and HROnlineMall.com. Thank you for our military for what you do 24/7. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Our featured guest today, the former Redskins PR director way back in 1987 and current mayor of Hampton, Donnie Tuck. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, and Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Guest lineup presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 great locations in Virginia Beach. The phone line presented by the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, October 19th through the 21st. And the show overall is presented by Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame, which will take place at Langley Speedway in Hampton next year. Well, congratulations, of course, to Mayweather for winning the big match. Major League Baseball winding down, as well as the Tide season, NFL preseason, 1 game left, thank goodness. Mentioned games that I worked this past weekend, the Nationals and the Mets, and, of course, the Bengals and the Redskins. Redskins looking forward to their first game in September as well. As always, great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene weekly, and we love our regulars and newcomers as well. 1650 AM on the radio, 92.5 FM, gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. This show will be archived all over Twitter and Facebook. Stay tuned.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
All right, it is indeed a pleasure to be back on Sports Scene. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. For more, go to gjbtv.com, all powered by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com and Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame as well. You can see the Twitter handle at HRSMHOF. Well, it's been 30 years. I met this gentleman a long time ago when he was the Redskins PR director way back at RFK Stadium. Very proud to have him back in the studio. He's been on Sports Highlights, Sports Scene, the mayor of Hampton, doing a great job. Donnie Tuck, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, Greg. I was just thinking about what you were saying about the Redskins and mayor. It just seems like a total disconnect there.
Yeah, you think about it, too, and we wanted to ask you about that, the whole process of the name of the Redskins as well. That's been controversial, but then again, you have to look at the Chiefs, the Indians. I mean, you can nitpick forever. I really don't think the forefathers ever thought about something negative when they called it that.
Well, it's interesting, Greg. Actually, it was an issue when I worked for the Redskins, and I remember getting some of the concerns from some of the Native American tribes, and it was really kind of quickly dismissed then. Since that time, though, it's been more of an issue, and it's actually kind of gotten a bit more of a foothold, even to the point that I think it was under one of the former presidents that they were going to not allow, I think, certain games to be played or maybe access, possibly was it to RFK Stadium or something like that, unless the name was changed or something. So it's grown. But you're right. I just not so sure that the original people who named the team thought about the ramifications and the connections and maybe considered to be disparaging comment or name.
Right, especially this day and age of we have to be polite to everybody, of course, 24/7. That should not be just something you're taught. It should be a given from the time you're at birth. I worked for the Redskins radio that Snyder owned in Virginia Beach for 6 years, and I'll say this, I finally met him face-to-face. He came in the TV booth at Fox on Sunday for the Redskins-Bengals preseason game, and I just told him simply, it was his suite is right next to the TV booth at Landover, and I finally said thank you for the opportunity to work there. But he was surrounded by, of course, bodyguards and everything else. But he owns radio stations, restaurants, amusement parks, and he's still very young.
Well, when I worked there, it was Jack Kent Cook who was the owner, and a lot of his, I I guess, wealth was in newspapers as well as physical properties. He had the Chrysler Building in New York, as well as I think he was a previous owner of a Los Angeles, I think, hockey team. And so just kind of different times, different individuals.
Yeah, before the internet as well. We're talking to Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton, as well. Well, of course, before we get started talking about city politics, Langley Speedway is back. We're excited that they're going to host the Hampton Roads Sports and Media Hall of Fame, but you were a big part of that, Bill Mullis and Chuck Hall.
Well, what we tried to do about 2 years ago was work out an agreement or arrangement to allow them to be able to purchase the Speedway. Unfortunately, or as we thought, we were really close, but things fell apart primarily with the actual owner who was out on the West Coast. And so we actually lost them last season. They had been, prior to that, the oldest continuously operating, they call it small track in the country, I think for 61 continuous years or like consecutive years. But they're back, and we're just really, really proud. It's just part of our legacy. It's a close identification with the city of Hampton, and we're just happy to have them back.
Not only are they going to host the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame ceremony at one of their races next year, but Bay Days is back.
Yes. They've made arrangements with the people who had founded Bay Days, and so they're going to be having it. I think it's not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, I think the 9th and 10th.
And why not? Perfect place. They've got plenty of places you can sit down, and it really is just a great facility, folks. You haven't had a chance to go by there. Well, we're talking with Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us, at Greg Bick on Twitter. And, I'm also friends with your wife on Twitter, too. It's amazing how social media has taken over, Donnie. I mean, are you a fan of that?
I used it considerably last year. I don't use it as much, and I think there are benefits to it. It's somewhat challenging because with the good of being able to get your message out and things about the city and places you are, there's also the somewhat negative where people find it easier to snipe at you without necessarily having that face-to-face or that personal interaction so you can respond. I'd hate to get back and forth on, I guess, in the media content versus trying to have the one-on-one dialogue or even a phone call.
Right, talking to Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. He's evolved from sports. He's also done radio as well in North Carolina, correct, Donnie?
That's correct. I did it actually in high school, and actually my senior year in college, I was doing color for pregame for football and did color somewhat on Basketball Network.
All right, that was near the Durham area?
Yes.
All right, speaking of Durham, we'll get right to the stuff here going on. Unfortunately, there was a bad incident in Charlottesville a few weeks ago that affected not only Charlottesville, but the entire state, the entire country. Charlottesville is actually smaller than the city of Hampton is. Very small city. People tend to think of it just as UVA, but they have a city, they have a city council. Of course, obviously the state police are everywhere throughout the entire state. Your thoughts on that? Because then you started seeing a statue issue even in Durham and other places around the country. They are basically brick and mortar.
Yes, and actually, Greg, to make it more, I guess, at home for me, I'm from Chapel Hill, and Chapel Hill has a monument on UNC's campus, and for the most part, another university town. So it's a difficult issue. We're trying to deal with it in Hampton right now. It's been brought to our attention that a community group wants to have two of our schools renamed from Jefferson Davis Middle School and the campus, Robert E. Lee campus, which is for an alternative student, as well as having a street that's Magruder Boulevard, wanting the name changed there. And what we've said is what we are going to do is have a lot of dialogue about it, try and talk to a number of stakeholders, and then after that, we'll see where it goes. But we're not going to be goaded into a decision on making this change.
My mother taught there at Jeff Davis Middle School way back from 63 to 76, but back then, that was a tough time. She started off in segregation. We evolved to integration, but it's a matter of just, to me, respect 24/7 and what the people want. And of course, the city council has to make decisions. That's what you're there for.
Yes, city council has a decision with respect to Magruder Boulevard. The school board has a decision with respect to the school names. And actually, the issue was brought up last year, and they voted unanimously, Greg, 7-0, not to change the names of the schools. So we'll have to see if something different causes them to make a different decision this time. But I don't think that they're going to be impacted by what happened in Charlottesville.
That's a great point, because a lot of times when you see the current events, like right now, Houston is dominating the airwaves. Whether you see a march, we saw some of the marches when you first became mayor on the interstate and Mercury Boulevard, you were there with the chief of police and so forth, or you see the statues, it's high intensity, high octane energy for a few days, then it sometimes disappears. But I think the statue thing will always be relevant, but it seems like there's people with, especially with social media, trying to get some publicity there as well. So I think it's just a matter of, what's the best good of the order 24/7 that will sustain and make everybody, for the most part, pleased.
Well, Greg, I think there's a lot of conversations that have to take place, and right now it's not happening. I'm 63 years old, and my first 6 years of elementary school were in a segregated environment. I know there are places as a youth I couldn't go in Chapel Hill and be served. I don't know how many of my friends know that, but I do share that with individuals that I'm close to. The idea is this: it's a very difficult issue because there are a lot of people who are alive who have some of those same experiences, some of them even worse, where they've had relatives who were lynched and other kinds of things. And so there's passion on both sides, and I think it takes people sitting down and trying to find out, why one group feels this way, why the other group feels that way, and trying to see, hey, look, can we sit down, can we come to some kind of agreement that, yeah, there's hurt, there's pain, there's pride, there's passion for these things, and maybe we can give on one and maybe we can concede on another. But I think it's going to take, again, conversations that aren't being held right now.
We're talking to Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us live on 1650 AM, 92.5 FM. This will be archived on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter a little bit later. For more, log on to gjbtv.com. And even the Wall Street March, too. There was always something, going on. The police issues, not necessarily around Hampton Roads, but people can always tell you behind-the-scenes stories around the country, whether it's Ferguson or the mass shootings in South Carolina. People have guns, they have the concealment and all that stuff, but basically you have to be vigilant anywhere you go now. And Charlottesville was a good example. That young lady probably had no chance to should have even been there. When you and I grew up, when there was chaos, you walk away. She ran into chaos, but she didn't deserve to die.
No, you're correct about that. And I guess one of the things I learned early in life from my father was, when you see someone wants to start a problem or trouble, just walk away. And it served me well. It has served me well, that advice.
But you sustained, but she did not walk away. And my thing is, when you see people with baseball bats and high intensity, this thing was premeditated on social media. The state police were there. And like Michelle Anaya told us recently from the state police, they're not just on the interstate, folks. They have full jurisdiction 24/7 throughout the state, whether it's Roanoke, Charlottesville. They can do meth busts. They can do any type of crime breakup they want to. And we saw them front and center.
Yes. And I think one of the good things in our own community is that prior to some of these marches, we have tried to engage the leaders or some of the participants and try and tell them what the expectations are. And because of that, we've been able to circumvent possibly what could have happened and has happened in other localities.
Right, let's talk about some of the stuff going on in the city of Hampton. What are the pressing issues as we go into the fall for the city council? Like, what's on the agenda and some of the documents?
Well, not so much the agenda, Greg, and I appreciate the question, but it's still economic development. It's trying to make sure that people in our city have opportunities, to reach their human potential. And so we actually are creating jobs, which is extremely positive. We've got individuals now who are making private investments in our city with respect to housing and development. And I think it's a great time for our city.
It really is. Throughout the entire region, both sides of the water, and a lot of the mayors always get together as well, because really we are one community. You're closer to Norfolk than you are to Williamsburg. So it just shows you, even though it's Peninsula and South Side, Hampton's closer to a lot of South Side cities.
Yes, and actually, Greg, prior to my coming inside here today, I was in a conversation with a former city manager who was telling me about that type of relationship. There is actually a regional body, there are 4, that are comprised of mayors and chairmen of board of supervisors. We meet monthly on the third Thursday, and there are actually 4 regional bodies that we're a part of. So it gives us a lot of chance for interaction and try and find out what other folks are doing and actually try and bridge some of those divides. Sometimes we think as independent communities, localities, when we actually need to look at ourselves as a larger region and try and think more collectively and see, because what one locality does generally impacts other localities, whether or not they realize it.
And that's a great point, Donnie. You're on the money. Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. The Monitor Merrimack goes basically from Newport News and Hampton to Suffolk. It's pretty simple for the most part. VDOT can control a lot of that as well. But HRBT, it can be dreadful, especially in rush hour traffic, especially around 5 o'clock when you're low on gas, you have to go to the bathroom, and you're right there in Ocean View. And not to mention, if your car breaks down, that's like dial-up internet in the 70s.
Sounds like you're speaking from personal experience.
Oh, I am. Proud of it, too.
But actually, last fall, Greg, we actually, with mayors from Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, Newport News, and Hampton, we actually worked out an agreement to trying to expand the Hampton Bridge Tunnel a priority in all the projects we're looking at. Again, we're looking at a number of different projects. Of course, they're all financed with gas taxes that are paid locally, which I don't agree with. But that said, we moved that up as a priority. And so that's one of those times where we work together to try and achieve a common good.
You mentioned some of the businesses in Hampton. There are some that have closed, and the relevance of the Hampton power plant area. Reed Cordish, he was an excellent tennis player back in the day. He actually played at center court. Excellent tennis player. His family is also involved in the Waterside District in Norfolk as well. Some of those restaurants have come and gone there. Is it a case, Donnie, and you've been around Northern Virginia, you've been around big cities, North Carolina too. All right, let's just open a restaurant and hope somebody comes, because Peninsula Town Center, they're going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings or Outback first and foremost. They are front and center. It's tough to get back layers deep, especially if you're a senior citizen, elderly, or handicapped.
Well, without revealing some conversations that have taken place in the past, Greg, that is a factor, that those restaurants at the power plant were in competition with the newer restaurants at Peninsula Town Center. And so it's kind of a shakeout right now of the strongest surviving.
Joe's closed, right?
Yes.
So you never want to see businesses closed, but that's not just locally. I mean, look at
nationally.
the Ruby Tuesday chain as well.
Yes. And actually, I think Joe's Crab Shack is closing nationally, so it's a bit more than just local competition, but I think it's a national shakeout.
There's just so many businesses out there, so it's really tough as well, too. As far as your day-to-day job, you're the mayor of Hampton. A lot of places, like in New York, it's a full-time job. In smaller cities throughout the state and the Commonwealth, it's not a full-time job. But are you semi-retired? Because you've worked full-time and been on city council before. Yes,
but the challenge now is that it is full-time what I do, but it's part-time compensation. But I'm not complaining about that. I enjoy what I'm doing, Greg. Again, in that phone conversation earlier, I told him I'm having a great time. I really am. There are a lot of expectations of the mayor. You wouldn't believe it. But if it's a ribbon cutting, if it's a program in school, if it's handing out awards, business meetings, those kinds of things that people really expect, I get a lot of invitations, and then I want to be there. I kind of kept that schedule when I was a council member. I did work full-time up in Midlothian, which is a 2-hour one-way commute.
You do that daily?
I did it daily.
Wow.
Because that particular company allowed me at least twice a month to do the council meetings. I worked locally with the company, and I thought I had that worked out at the beginning, but after 14 months it went south, and so I had to resign. But again, finding an employer who will allow me to do that. But no, I'm not retired yet. Still part of me wants to work, but it's a challenge trying to find even a 20-hour-a-week job.
What I've always liked about you have a great attitude. You're very positive. Got great family support as well. All right, Buckrow Beach. What's up with Buckrow Beach? There's not a whole lot down there except for jellyfish. But when I was a kid, there were roller coasters. There were restaurants. What are your thoughts about that whole Mellon Street and Buckrow Beach?
Well, Greg, you missed a wonderful summer. We had a lot of programming down there. We had a company that came in and they rented kayaks. I'm thinking wave riders, but the other word for it is the jet skis. They did, I think, canoes. And then we had food trucks down there.
Sure.
And so in addition to that, we had just people coming down and enjoying it, to the point that now we have crowds that we're going to have to try and deal with by trying to create more parking. And so we're looking at what the options are. We tried to do a shuttle this past summer, and people who go to the beach want to be able to get there, get all their little items out and walk to the beach, coolers and chairs and tents.
Simple.
Not necessarily have to try and put that on a bus and get there. So, again, that's a challenge for us. But, no, we had tremendous crowds, and we couldn't be more pleased.
No, it's a beautiful beach. It's got a great fishing pier there as well. But like you said, parking's an issue. That hotel for years was the San Souci.
Yes.
That's no longer there either.
Right. But again, part of the challenge, Greg, is the folks who, like yourself, are sentimental and they remember the beach when there's carousel and amusement and things like that. Well, it was Busch Gardens and Kings Dominion, I think, that caused those things not to be profitable, and that's why they're no longer there. But we need to look at new kinds of programming, and I think we're going to work at that.
Do you learn from the other cities, like Virginia Beach is trying to get an arena? Portsmouth has had issues with their former mayor and the sheriffs. Norfolk's had their vice mayor, of course, right now. Former vice mayor Burfoot is in prison right now. So you learn from the good, the bad, and the ugly. For sure, and we wouldn't be very smart if we did not learn from those things. But on a positive note, there are lots of positive things going on in our region. We recognize that we have a limited amount of beachfront that's available to the public. We don't have as much as Virginia Beach, so we can't be Virginia Beach. I always say, let's be Hampton. Let's try and create our own type of sense of place, and I think we're working very hard at doing that. You talk about other cities too, like you look at Williamsburg. They're trying to get more tourists in on Richmond Road, but it's all about money and everything else. And you go to a movie theater now, Donnie, whether it's AMC or any movie theater, it's an arm and a leg for a family of four, and a lot of them are going to the Dollar Tree before to get their concessions. You're right, and so you're in competition for that dollar. And what's happening now is that more and more localities see tourism, I think, as low-hanging fruit, and that's low-hanging fruit. And so the concept is people will come, they'll stay in your hotels, they'll eat in your restaurants, they'll see your city or whatever events they came to see, and they'll go away. I would like it much better if they would come, eat, sleep, see the event, and then decide to come back to Hampton because we've impressed them that much. All right, we'll get Donnie's closing thoughts after the news break. This is Sports Scene. Stay tuned for the news. For more, go to gjbtv.com, hit the YouTube link.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
Very nice. A few more moments with Donnie Tuck. We'll get right into the continuation of this great program, Sports Scene at 12:33. How often do you talk to McKinley Price, your cohort mayor of Newport News? We actually see each other more outside of work, more frequently than we interact as a part of work. So maybe about once every 2 weeks or so. Very good. He's an orthodontist, dentist as well. Very nice gentleman. We've actually played in tennis before, too. So he's an excellent tennis player, too. And, of course, related to Bobby Scott, too. Yes. Your thoughts and messages to the tourists listening right now? Well, first of all, be safe. Come to Hampton. I do welcomes to different groups, and I say, hey, we are a tremendous city. We have a lot of history, a lot of great things to see. And I think they'll be pleased with what they see at Hampton. They'll have a great experience. Your messages to the city employees starting this September and the school kids and teachers starting in September? Well, to school kids and teachers, first of all, is that we want you to be the best you can be. We want you to have a hassle-free experience. We want you to be intellectually challenged and benefit from that. Teachers, we certainly support you. We try and do our best to show that we support you, and we appreciate the job that you're doing. City employees, the same thing. We just think we have a great workforce, and we appreciate all that you do to provide for the citizens of Hampton. And Hampton is always growing, evolving, and you're a big part of that, and thank you so much. Anybody that you want to say hello to out there or a special recognition? Well, I just think we've got a great city, a great city council, and so if I want to do a shout-out, it'd be to the members of Hampton City Council for the great job that they're doing in providing leadership for our city. you're doing it pretty much full time. I want to get one more question. Demands on your time, Donnie. We had to prepare for this almost 2 months ago, and I've known you since I've been a kid. Also that, but how about the churches on the weekends and the rubber chicken banquet speaking?
Well, actually, probably in the last 2 years, I put on about 13 pounds. So that's a lot of rubber chickens. But no, I enjoy it, Greg. I really do. And my wife is very understanding. In fact, she helps make out my schedule. Sometimes she'll tell me about events that I just was not aware of. So she's a great support. And so I appreciate her for that. And
this is your calling. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and you like PR, you like politics, you've done broadcasting. Is this as far as you want to go as mayor, or you want to just obviously you can do another 20 years in city council, but or do you want to do another office?
When I was younger, Greg, I had more aspirations, but I think this is it.
Yeah, you can travel anywhere as mayor. Donnie, all the best. Thank you for your time, your talent, and your treasure, and for all that you do for the city of Hampton as mayor.
Thank you, Greg. I've enjoyed being here.
And also perseverance, too. You've been knocked down, you've won, you've lost, but you know what? You've sustained, and that's a message to young and old as well. We'll take a 30-second break, come back with Ian Locke from the Norfolk Tides after this.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
All right, we're live back on Sports Scene, all powered by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com and Hampton Roads Sports and Media Hall of Fame as well, going on next year at Langley Speedway. Just had the mayor of Hampton, Donnie Tuck, who was in the same position with Ian Locke. He was the PR director for the Redskins 30 years ago. Interesting story. A lot of you know that I stage manage for Fox. I worked the Redskins-Bengals game on Sunday. Our suite is right next door. The broadcast TV suite is right next door to Dan Snyder's suite. He owned the station I worked for in Virginia Beach for 6 years, one of the several things he owned. He actually walked in our TV booth, met him for the first time. I've walked by him millions of times, but we'll just say this. He owned the Redskins when he was in his young 30s. He's only like 50, 51, 52 in that range right now. Very, very young. How many of you are mature enough to own an NFL team in your 30s? Dan Snyder deserves a little credit. Done a great job with the Redskins. All right, let's switch gears to baseball, America's pastime. A lot of rain yesterday, but it's a sunny day today as we're speaking to Ian Locke. How are you, Ian?
I'm great, Greg. How are you?
Very good. The Tides right now, 63 and 72. I guess the playoffs are remote, but let's talk first and foremost, how many home games left, how many road games left?
Well, you mentioned it was a beautiful day, and it's the old, what Ernie Banks said, a great day for two. We with all the rain yesterday in the area, we got rained out last night, so we're playing a doubleheader today starting at 5:05. Only two nights left here at for home games, so we got to come out, see the Tides when you can. One ticket will be good for both 7-inning games tonight, and we have fireworks after tonight and tomorrow night's game. So only 2 nights left and fireworks both nights, and we'd love to have a lot of fans come out and kind of put a bow on this successful 2017 campaign.
2 nights left, but 3 total games, correct?
3 total games. Yep, 2 games today, a game tomorrow, and then we go on the road. We finish with 4 games in Charlotte before the last game of the season is Labor Day on Monday.
Let's go over the Newswire and transactions. You sent out a release about Alvarez. Talk about it.
Yeah, so Pedro Alvarez today was named the designated hitter on the International League All-Star team, which is a pretty big award. Pedro is, he's a veteran player who's played first base, DH, and right field for us this year, but he's hit 26 home runs. He has 89 runs batted in, leads the league in total bases, games, at bats, extra base hits. He's played in every single game we've had this year. So he actually not just leads our league, but also all of professional baseball in at bats right now. So he's played every game. He's currently in. I see the lineups for today. He's slated to play both games in today's doubleheader. He's set on pace to set our franchise record for games for at bats in the season, and he's got an outside chance to set our franchise records in home runs and RBIs as well. So had a heck of a year, and it was good to see him rewarded with that today by the International League.
How would you compare this year, working for the Tides, the summer, the fans, the promotions, the team, compared to years past? What are you and Joe talking about? How does 2017 shape up to previous years?
It's been a successful year, absolutely. I mean, the team on the field got off to a slow start. I mean, if you talk to anyone, our manager Ron Johnson will admit, April and May we were not very good on the field. Our pitching needed to find its footing, but once the All-Star break hit. I mean, we've been really good. We've been, if not the best team, one of the top 2 or 3 since the All-Star break, and it's good to see we've been playing a lot better on the field and off the field as well. We've had some big nights attendance-wise. I know we had the Orioles come in to play us, the Tides, in an exhibition game on March 31st to kind of kick off our season, and then weather-wise, a lot of it is based on weather. We've had a couple Saturday night huge crowds that were great, and we've had a couple Saturday nights where we're going to have huge crowds that got rained out. That's nothing really we can control, but we've had some exciting promotions, and I'm not sure if any Game of Thrones fans were out here on Monday night, but we had the actor Christian Narn, who plays Hodor, was here, and I've never seen as many people in line to try and get an autograph and a picture with him. It was crazy how many people we had in line, and he was great and signed autographs for a couple hours, which was more than he had agreed to in the beginning. So lots of good stuff going on both on the field and off the field this year, and a very, very successful season.
Talking to Ian Locke from the Norfolk Tides. Save the date each Wednesday for Sports Scene from 12 to 1. GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link. This show will be archived later this evening. Visit all the pages of GJBTV.com as well. When you talk about the Tides going into the road as well, that'll be a nice way to end the season. But you mentioned the Orioles. A lot of them will be moving up. The Orioles are really relevant in the wild card. Yeah,
tomorrow's a big day. I mean, we have not just our last home game for us, but tomorrow is the last day in August, and September call-ups. September 1st, the rosters expand for the Orioles. Orioles have won 6 games in a row. They are now just a game and a half out of that second wild card, trailing the Twins and the Angels. Angels are a game back, and the Orioles are a game and a half back. So they are in the thick of the playoff chase, and some guys that are here are definitely going to get called up. I don't know who yet. I'm anxious to see, just like everybody else. But guys like Pedro Alvarez, who we mentioned, has a lot of veteran time. And you got a lot of guys on the 40-man roster. Currently, J.J. Hardy, the Orioles shortstop, is here, slated to be here at least today and tomorrow on rehab assignment. So he's going to go up to Baltimore. We've had some relievers like Jimmy Yacobonis and Mike Wright and Stefan Crichton, who have been here all year, that you're going to see pitching in September most likely, and meaningful games for the Orioles. So it's a good time of year for our guys. A lot of the guys that it's kind of the end of a long grind where a lot of these guys are kind of anxious to get home to their families. But if they get called up to the Orioles, they'll be very excited to A, make a little money, and B, get to help out the Orioles in their playoff push. And who knows, you get a guy like Trey Mancini, who got called up last year, and that springboarded his fantastic campaign this season. So, a lot of guys that you see here in Norfolk at Harbor Park are going to be in the thick of the playoff chase here in about a week or so.
Yeah, for Sports Highlights, we interviewed Joseph and Mancini. They've done very well. They've been front and center for the Orioles. Go ahead and connect us on social media.
Yeah, so anyone wants to follow us on social media can do so. Just search Norfolk Tides. You can do that on Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also find us on YouTube as well under Tides Clips. And then you can go on our website, norfolktides.com. Has all of our latest promotions and tickets and things like that. And as this off season starts up next week, we'll be putting out our next year's schedule and certain promotions that we'll be announcing all throughout the off season. So norfolktides.com is a good place to go to check all that out.
Yeah, we've done this weekly segment. Ian, it's been a pleasure having you on. We'll talk to you again probably in a few months in the fall as well as the winter before we start 2018 and do this all over again.
Sounds great, Greg. I really appreciate you having me on each week.
My pleasure. All the best to the Tides, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Greg. Take care.
Thank you. All right, don't forget Oh Yummy Sushi, best Japanese cuisine in Virginia. Give them a call at 631-6888. Go by and see Jasmine and the great staff at 401 North Great Neck Road in Virginia Beach. Excellent dining, excellent Japanese cuisine. Oh Yummy Sushi, 401 North Great Neck Road. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene, powered by Panera Bread and PaneraBread.com at 6255 College Drive. Go by and see the great staff. Get some breakfast, lunch, and dinner, soups, salads, sandwiches, desserts, danishes as well. Excellent sandwiches, always. Open 7 days a week, late night. Go by Panera right there in Harborview. Give them a call at 483-3670. Let them take care of your special event. Spacious dining room at Panera in Harborview in Suffolk. Speaking of food and desserts, let's welcome back Brenda Tusing, the owner of the Royal Chocolate in Virginia Beach. How are you?
I am great today, Greg. How are you?
Very good. You know what, Brenda? August always gets the short end of the stick. I was up in Williamsburg at a Christmas store, and she was telling me how much, she likes weather to be kind of a little rough because that gets you in that mode. But still, it's summertime. We still have a Labor Day weekend. Yet every store you see, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and let's talk about Christmas. That's right around the corner now, too. Why does August always seem like it's the short end of the stick?
Oh, it's just one of those dog day sort of months, I suppose. It's, first of all, it doesn't have any holiday. It doesn't have a Memorial Day, a Labor Day, a 4th of July, any of that stuff going for it. And so it's just it's that moment when summer's ending, school's going to begin. You're right. I hadn't thought about it, but it's sort of a strange month, isn't it?
Yeah, but of course, you mentioned the holiday, but it is like Labor Day weekend this weekend. But still, you hear about the back-to-school stuff in July almost.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, as a retailer, I have to say, it's very difficult. You have all of these things. We already getting catalogs now, Greg, for Valentine's Day and Easter for our pre-orders. That's how far ahead a retailer has to think. And you got to get that stuff out there, get people thinking about it. But guess what's going on this weekend? We have a fun thing in the store.
Sure.
You ready? On Saturday from 11 to 2, we're doing a make-your-own chocolate bar.
Wow.
You drop in, make a bar, design the box, and off you go for only $10.
You can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
Great dessert.
It'll take your mind, maybe it'll take some kids' minds off going back to school. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it would anytime. And adults as well going back to work.
Well, yeah, and on Tuesday for adults, because we're going to we're so sad that the kids are going back to school that we're celebrating. How about that? We're doing a fundraiser for blankets for the homeless. $5 between 11 and 2. You can come in, and we're going to have what we call our gourmet chocolate bar. It's just a variety of chocolates all set up in the store, and you're welcome to help yourself and take 20% off of any purchases that day as well.
TheRoyalChocolate.com on social media. You're in the town center. Talk about your address and phone number.
We're at 164 Central Park Avenue. Phone number 757-557-6925. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all those kind of fun things.
Absolutely. All right, talk about your store and celebrating several years now. There's always something for everyone. When you first walk in the store, what do you see?
Chocolate. Actually, right at the front of the store, a lot of times during the day, not so much in the evening, but during the day, you'll see some of our staff who are trained to make chocolate. Because as you well know, Greg, we have about a case and a half of chocolates made in the store. We use Belgian chocolate. We do all those gourmet apples that are so fabulous. So you see a lot of chocolate, and then you'll see our sample area. You can try some things before you buy it. Most people almost don't notice because they're so fixated on the chocolate, but we've got a beautiful seating area with a fireplace. That's a great spot. Just come in and enjoy. We have coffee and tea and lots of frozen chocolate drinks and hot chocolates, or you can do chocolate fondue for two.
Very nice. And the town center is always trying to have activities around your store as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, tonight is a Why Not Wednesday. Free music by Party Fins. Usually this is the last Why Not Wednesday. I'm not sure if they're having one next week or not because we did get rained out one week. But Party Fins is there, sort of a Jimmy Buffett-style band. Lots of fun, free music. It's kid family friendly. I think the Why Not Pizza people are there. You can buy a drink if you want. It's a lot of fun.
It's like a candy wonderland, folks. I mean, the Royal Chocolate,
yeah, we are.
all over social media, but the best thing is to walk in, eat something, and buy something. And you'll be doing shipping for the holidays, too.
We will. We'll start that probably weather-dependent, October, November time frame. We'll ship on through the first part of the year. But, we deliver locally all year long. And we also do curb service, which is, people that are familiar with what we have and they already know what they want. They just want to grab it and go. You can call us with your credit card. We'll run it out to the curb for you. So we've got all kinds of ways to make you happy.
Brenda, we'll talk to you next month. You make us happy monthly, and say hello to Terry for us and your family.
I will, Greg. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, Brenda Tusing right there, the owner of the Royal Chocolate. Very sweet place right there, all powered by Buffalo Wild Wings and BuffaloWildWings.com in Newport News, 12150 Jefferson Avenue. Wings, beer, sports, appetizers, salads, wings, excellent sauces, burgers. Watch the NFL, Major League Baseball. Get food to go as well. Dine in, carry out in their spacious dining room. The best TVs, the best wings, of course, at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Let's get to What Tees Me Off.
What Tees You Off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
And our good friend at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville, Mike and the good people over there at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Open daily, 523-4832. Wi-Fi available. Excellent place for burgers, seafood, pasta, steaks right there at Outback Steakhouse. The home menu order, of course, right there in Kempsville and Virginia Beach. 1255 Fordham Drive. Spacious dining room, open daily. Get food to go. Great place for your takeout as well. Outback Steakhouse in Virginia Beach. You can't go wrong. Everything is fresh. Everything is good on their menu at Outback Steakhouse. Mike will take care of you as well. All right, before we get to What Tees Me Off as well, question for Joe Daniel, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Speaking of food, we just mentioned Buffalo Wild Wings and Outback. When you and the family go out, the wife, the kids, do you always order soda and tea, or do you not, to save some money?
Regardless of whether the kids are with us or not, we rarely order drinks because of that reason, just because of how expensive it is. And it allows us to add more money for the waitress, the waiter, if they do provide good service. So we rarely order any kind of sodas. If we do order, it'll be like one tea and we'll share it or something.
Right, exactly. That's a smart way of doing it. Just get one tea and everybody has a sip, whatever. But here's the thing, too. That's a great point, which leads me to my next What Tees Me Off. Coupons with a catch in small writing. Buy one, get one free if you order 2 drinks as well.
Oh, yeah, like a caveat there or something. You have to order the combo in order to get this little, like, in a tiny little keychain size Frosty or something.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
I went to one restaurant where it said $10 off, but I didn't read the back of it when it said you have to order $25 or $30 worth of food to get the $10 off.
Yeah,
Ouch.
I've seen some of those where it's on sale. Hey, you get $20 off, but you have to spend $150 to get the $20 off. And you're like, geez, like, I don't understand. It's not even worth it at that point.
This is What Tees Me Off. I want to thank our guests so far, Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton, Ian Locke from the Tides, and Brenda Tusing, Greg Bicouvaris, along with Joe Daniel. It is 12:55. Hello, locals and tourists. All right, what else tees me off? Driving is always tough and with bad weather, but when you drive and you know you hit a sharp object on the road with your tires, doesn't give you that confident feeling.
It's the worst feeling in the world to hit something. I don't know, for me, when I drive and I hit something, I like feel it in my foot. So if I'm like, for whatever reason, I'm messing with the radio dial and then I run over, unfortunately, like a dead animal or something, I can feel that on my foot from the pedal, and it just instantly makes my skin crawl.
Your whole body can feel it.
Yeah.
Especially too with potholes as well. Potholes are really bad.
Oh yeah. It's when the deep pothole and you just feel like the pressure hit the tire. It's the worst.
How about this? What else tees me off? Crowded bathrooms. Ugh, they're just horrible.
Yeah. Have you been into a bathroom where there's the attendant in there who will like...
I don't want to talk to him.
Who will squirt the soap in your hands and turn on the water and give you your... Yeah, that's... I appreciate it. And then they have little like scent, like gum or like perfumes out there, colognes. I mean, I appreciate it, but it is kind of...
Awkward?
It's kind of strange. It's kind of awkward, yeah.
That hasn't always been around. Usually you see that in bars and nightclubs, too, as well. What else tees me off? Misplacing the remote at night.
Yes, or anytime. Just
under the bed,
yeah,
under the pillows.
Just wanting to reach somewhere and grab it, and it's just not there. I'm getting into this habit, though, where I'm trying to put the remote on my shoulder. Do you do that? You put the remote like on your shoulder, so that way every time you go to reach for it, it's right there, as opposed to putting it on the arm, and it could slide off or something. You just right there on the shoulder. So I'm trying to get into that habit.
Who are you, David Copperfield?
Yeah.
Goodness, the magician over here. All right, how about this? Forgetting stuff at home before you go to school or work. You know, that extra paper or extra document you need.
My wife always tells me, whenever I say goodbye to her, I'm like, okay, so you're leaving in 10 minutes? Because it's always one thing. I go out, I try to gather all my stuff, but I go out, I start the car, and I realize, I forgot my wallet. And so I have to run back in. I forgot this, I forgot that. So yes, it turns out to be 10 minutes later after that I've been planning on leaving that I actually do leave because I'm constantly running back in.
What else teases me off? Valet parking, I get it, but there are personal belongings there that you don't have a chance to really look at. And a lot of times these drivers park where they want to park at, not where they told you they're going to park at.
Yeah.
That's an issue sometimes.
Valet drives is just, for me, it just seems super sketch. Like, I want to trust people, but at the same time, like,
you don't know them.
It's so simple. And I'm not saying it's not even like they're a bad person. It's just, it's so easy to just be tempted with just some loose change there, and you just grab it. And every car that you're grabbing, just some loose change, and nobody's going to know the wiser. And you're just and you can walk out with 5, 10 extra bucks, easy and change, and nobody's going to know. I mean, it's just, for me, it's really tempting. That's a hard job.
Totally agree. What else teased me off as well? You know, we talk about what's going on in the world, especially right now overseas, but how awkward is this, folks? The Winter Olympics is going to be in South Korea in the winter in February. South Korea is very close to North Korea, which every day it seems like wants to do a missile launch. That is the perfect opportunity to make some negative noise during the Winter Olympics when they have the world's attention will be on the country of Korea. Let's not forget, Korea at one time was one country. That could be very awkward, Joe Daniel, the Winter Olympics, for the athletes and the participants.
No, I agree, absolutely. But it's kind of like, what do you do in that scenario? I mean, do you just not host it or anything? I mean, what can you do to alleviate the situation? You kind of have to move forward and kind of hope for the best.
Well, that's all you can do. It's a very volatile part of the world as well. I want to thank again our guests as well, Ian Locke as well, Brenda Tusing, and Donnie Tuck, the mayor of Hampton. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link where the show will be archived, all powered by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Thank you, of course, to Outback and Panera as well, and all of our great sponsors, too, right here, and Buffalo Wild Wings. For Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Happy Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, 92.5 FM W223CT Norfolk. For your daily supply of news and talk, we are The Answer.